Guten Tag, guten Morgen. Welcome to the International Transport Forum 2011. I'm Melinda Crane, and I will be your moderator during this morning's plenary session. The title of the forum, as we just heard, is Transport for Society, and this plenary is about putting people first. People, however, don't always put transport first. They demand ever greater mobility, and yet many of us take the mobility we already have for granted. I, for example, came here yesterday from Saarbrücken via Berlin by plane, bus, foot, car, train, and cab, and in between there was also a bicycle ride. And if I hadn't been a veteran moderator of the ITF, I wouldn't even have been aware of my exemplary multimodality. For many of us lay people, transport only becomes visible when things go wrong, when there's friction, when systems don't sync, when schedules aren't met, when infrastructure shows strains, or when big projects are proposed to be built in our backyards. In many places, planners must meet ever more complex demand with shrinking resources. Over the next 2 days, we're going to be talking about rising expectations on the one hand and shrinking resources on the other. And we'll be asking, in view of both, how transport can better serve its users. In other words, we aim to make transport's use to society visible without the friction, or at least without the negative friction. Given our really fantastic lineup of speakers, I think there will be plenty of positive friction in the course of our discussions. But before we hear from them, just a few practical tips. You will have seen that there are headsets on your seats. As you can tell, our opening plenary is mostly in English, but we will have a bit of German. So if you need translation and you don't have a headset, please do go back out to the foyer and find one of the hostesses, and she will provide you with one. In this first session, we have not only some really exciting keynotes and a panel discussion, but also our Young Researcher of the Year award. So we can look forward to all of that. And after that, there will be a caffeine refueling stop, more or less at 10:45. And now, to get us started, a man who puts people and transport first, please give a very warm welcome to the Secretary General of the International Transport Forum, Jack Short.
Good morning, everybody. Ministers, ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen, friends. A very warm welcome to the 4th International Transport Summit in Leipzig. Thanks to you all for taking the time from your busy schedules to be here. Thanks to all who have contributed to preparing this event, including our Spanish presidency, our task force, our authors, our speakers, our session chairs, and many others. Warm thanks too to our sponsors, our platinum sponsor Airbus, our gold sponsor Toll Collect, as well as our other sponsors and partners for their collaboration. We really hope that you all find stimulating ideas and discussions here and will take these back to your own work and your own organizations. I just want to give you some examples of some of the things you can do and find here. Later today, we will publish our Transport Outlook. This is our view of how the trends in transport are playing out. In this, we address some important issues like future CO2 emissions, peak travel, and the relationships between trade and transport. The broad message is that, driven by population and economic growth, global transport could even treble by 2050. We also point to the fragile nature of the current economic recovery, with the growth we see being rather over-dependent on exports. And when we discuss the idea of car travel and that it has peaked, we come to the conclusion that even in the advanced economies, this is not the case. In addition to these kinds of ideas, there are a set of thought-provoking papers on the website by a wide range of experts. Most of them are here, and many of them are on the panels. After our opening plenary, we will have 6 sessions to discuss some of these ideas, and you will all have opportunities to intervene and interact with those speakers. We are also releasing today a Secretariat paper which summarises much of this background material, and I think it gives also some policy and analytic ideas on the theme of our conference. Our new data are being published at this time, and you should go to our stand to see a dynamic presentation of it. Discuss it with our staff, who will be very pleased to help you. We have an exhibition, and I hope you will visit and spend some time there. We'd like to thank all the exhibitors. There's a poster session for researchers and others, and I hope you will spend some time there too. We have side events, including on gender, on biofuels, and on health, and we thank our partners for those. The political day tomorrow will include many ministers and top executives, and will build on the ideas that emerge from today. Tomorrow too, we have a very strong session of innovators with some very well-known contributors. And on Friday, we will explore the key issue of urban travel, including the role of government in providing a framework for travel in cities, including Mayor Young and many others. Well, our theme, Transport for Society, might seem rather trite. What else is transport for? But actually the idea behind it is rather substantive. It is to look at transport from the point of view of individuals, communities, and more broadly the users. Now, this is not rocket science, but it is not something that transport policy has always done well. When we examined a few years ago the successes and failures of transport policy over the previous half-century, one of the identified failures was the overemphasis placed on the supply side in transport. This refers to the strong role that the supply-side actors, whether infrastructure suppliers or service providers, have played in policy development. So this event gives an opportunity to redress the balance here. I think it's also an opportunity to advance many of the user-centred policies that we've all worked on, whether it's accessibility in the broad sense, safety, service quality, reliability, and many others. Well, just how important is transport for society? We can see that it's very important just by thinking about a world without it. Transport is central to a modern economy. It enables citizens to participate in society and helps them enjoy life. Even if the organisation is less than ideal, we have a hard time imagining a radically different and less transport-intensive way of organising our activities. We have indicators to tell us about the weight the sector has in our economies and in our lives. National accounts, for example, show that transport activities represent about 8% of GDP in advanced economies. But this, of course, is a partial measure, including only the marketed transport activities and ignoring, for example, the time spent in travel. Expenditure surveys show that households spend about 12% of their income on transport in the EU, about 18% in the United States, so it's a very significant share. Travel surveys tell us we spend a lot of time in transport, on average about 1 hour a day in many countries, but with very large differences between households, and I think that's important because heterogeneity is key. Transport matters for all, but in different ways for different people, and therefore requires a great variety of solutions rather than just using simple averages. Research too confirms the importance of transport as a catalyst for growth, but of course it is not itself sufficient for economic growth. Now, all these indicators are partial, and grasping the importance of transport for society is indeed elusive. But perhaps this is not the right question. Should we, instead of asking how important transport is for society, not just ask how can we improve the sector so that it can make an even bigger contribution to well-being? So I think this is what the debates here are actually about. Not a defensive stance trying to justify the considerable expenditures on transport, but instead trying to work out ways we can do better. So I think that's our challenge over the next few days. So in ending, I hope I have given you a flavour of the many opportunities there are for you. I hope you will benefit from your time here. I hope you will enjoy it. And I take that you will take good ideas back with you to your home countries. So thank you very much.